So to suggest that the first day, which was the introduction of spiritual light into the expanse, was a 24-hour day makes no sense, because there were no 24-hour days until the fourth day, or the fourth yom. And when it says, and God saw that it was good, it's better rendered as, and God saw that it was so. So we have a lot of misconstructions in the translations that render the idea of circuitous time non-existent, and the imposition of linear time. And that's the problem with us on Earth. We see with a linear capacity rather than a circuitous capacity. Remember, we're trying to extend your vanishing point so that you can comprehend the magnitude of existence and try to put it into a context that allows us to explain and share with you the Luciferian codes, which comes a little bit later in our discussion. Now, one last thing in the book of Genesis, and that's in Genesis 2, verse 4, and it says, and the heavens and the earth were created in that yom. Now, here's the word yom being used again to explain the whole 7-day process, or the whole 7 yom process. So obviously this word yom is not to be understood as a 24-hour day. It's not that at all. So if we look at modern translations, we're not going to get past the real meaning of the Revelation 10 that talks about the 7 thunders, the 7 universes. We're not going to get there. So you have to look at the scriptures in their original, and we give great thanks to the manifester for breaking this down. And if you want to read a more detailed explanation of this amazing scholarship, you can go to our website at kkptv.com, and there it is in the ancient text refound, and you can do your own study. It's about 40 pages that deal with the first 5 words in the book of Genesis. So it's a tremendous teaching and explanation of how this all works together. But the book of Genesis in its original form, in its original language, actually supports what we've been trying to tell you by the circuitous nature of the design of the alpha-omega cycles that have been persisting now for 7 universes. We are now presently in the 8th universe, and as we read other places in the scripture, we find that in our universe something catastrophic took place that caused a silence in heaven. Now we're talking about heaven time for a half hour. That's not the same as earth time. It's a short sliver of time in the universe where there's been silence. Something's been missing. It's quiet, and what it is involves who we are, what happened to us, why we're here, and it all revolves around what we're going to get into in the next section, which is the angel wars in Revelation chapter 12. I want to read from Scripture in Revelation 12 about this great war in the heavens, because this great war has not really been fully explained, and we need to understand really clearly what took place in the heavens. If we want to understand the Bible, we should begin with Revelation 12 that deals with the 7 thunders, which are the 7 big bangs and the 7 universes. That's really important to understand what happened before Genesis. But also we need to understand what happened with this angel war that took place sometime around the 5th yom that's recorded in the book of Genesis. But I want to read to you from the book of Revelation this accounting of this war. And there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 crowns upon his head. Now remember, this is symbolic language, so don't try to apply it right now to anything on the earth. Just listen. And his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which is mentioned earlier, which I didn't cover in my reading, which was ready to be delivered, for to deliver her child as soon as it was born. Of course, that's referring to Christ here on earth. I'm going to skip down. And there was war in heaven. Michael, who was of course the archangel over the seraphim angels, and his angels fought against the dragon. And of course the dragon here is actually a reference to Lucifer. And the dragon fought, and his angels, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceives the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Now, there's a lot in this that has been tossed around for hundreds and hundreds of years. But we want to try to bring more light to this, to push out the vanishing point as regards to Lucifer and with regards to those angels that followed him. So we're going to talk about the angel wars, because the angel wars have a great deal to do with our predicament on this earth. And we haven't made the connection clearly because we simply haven't understood the angel wars. So let's go back and discuss what actually took place, which we can learn from different places in Scripture that are kind of like little windows into this mystery that are almost, I think you consider, like pieces to a puzzle that we can put together and then hammer out a picture that is plain for everyone to see. I think it's interesting to note and important to note here that it was Michael, the archangel over the seraphim angels, that went to war against Lucifer. So at this point, I think it's important to talk about angels for a minute, because I think there's a lot of misconception about angels. I think the earth view of angels is rather stunted, and we have a terrible ability to grasp just how they function in the heavens. The angels function in the heavens. Now God, of course, is in the heaven above heavens, so he's in another dimension than the angels, although they have a terrific connectivity to the heaven of heavens. They still are in our universe and our galaxy as agents with free will. Just as we have free will, the angels have free will. They make decisions, and they function in the heavens as a proxy for the Most High God. I am and I am. So they aren't just kind of flying around playing harps all the time, as we think, or they're not namby-pamby. They're powerful, intelligent, and at times they'll even go to war in the heavens. But when they go to war in the heavens without it being sanctioned by God, well, then they have used their will in violation of universal law. And we know that there's more evidence that proves that angels have free will. For example, Lucifer made terrific and terrible choices to do things that were in contradiction to what God allowed in the heavens. So if you have an idea that angels are almost like robotic, they have no will, they're very submissive, they do what they're told, and they have absolutely no free choice, you're mistaken. The angels work as proxies and ambassadors for God, and we find in the book of Genesis, for example, returning to Genesis 1, where we have quoted the proper Hebrew rendering of Genesis 1, from aforetime manifold God had created. The word there, manifold, is actually the word Elohim, and Elohim is the plural for Eloah. The idea being that Elohim is a reference to angels, and it could be any angel grouping. There are 7 angel groupings that are referenced in the book of Revelation as the 7 spirits of God. These spirits are multifaceted groupings of angels that have one mind circuitry, so they're explained as one individual spirit, but they're actually angel groupings. We are told that there's 7 spirits of God.